This video is brought to you by Yes Athletics. Women's Advanced Nogi 70 kg Division. This was my first time doing an ADCC Open. I did West Coast Trials last year, but I had never done one of the Opens, so I was pretty excited. The match starts and my opponent immediately ties up with me and gets to her guard. I was a little bit surprised by this because I knew someone that had competed against her recently and they said that she liked to wrestle, but apparently not for this tournament. She is doing a good job using her collar tie and her overhook to control my posture and keep me broken down so that I'm not able to start to posture up and try to pass her guard. I am looking to hand fight and try to get my posture back while also being mindful of keeping my elbows nice and tight and not extending my arms too much and leaving myself vulnerable to guard attacks. Here I'm starting to get my posture back and am keeping my hips nice and squared up with her hips so that she's not able to cut angles to look for her sweeps and submissions. Now that I'm postured back up, I'm looking to hand fight and get some type of grip or pin so that I can start to stand up and look for my guard break. As I looked to start to stand up, I think she realized she wasn't going to be able to maintain her closed guard the way that she wanted, so she underhooks my leg and starts to invert for K guard and start to look for her leg lock entries. I'm doing a good job keeping heavy chest pressure to try to prevent her from completing her inversion. And because of this, she's having a hard time rolling all the way underneath the way that she wants to. So she actually winds up switching this entanglement to where she off balances me in the opposite direction and then uses that to sneak a leg underneath my leg and start to set up her leg lock position. She winds up pulling my leg across her body into like a 50-50 type position and is starting to hunt for her inside heel hook. But because we're in the 50-50 position, I also have leg locking opportunities. So while I'm trying to keep my foot safe from her attacks, I'm also starting to look for my counter leg lock. Right now I have my legs in a figure 4 position and she is trying to untangle them to try to look for her heel exposure so she can start to hunt for her heel hook attacks. I am also looking to untangle her legs and start to try to find my leg locking opportunities as well. I'm doing a good job here of sitting up and I'm actually able to start to get to untangling her legs before she is able to untangle mine. And I'm able to start to look to bring her leg across the body. And now I wind up in this DOA position. She is doing a good job coming up and starting to pressure into me to prevent me from getting the bite on my heel hook that I need. The more she's able to stay standing and keep her foot flat to the mat, the harder it is for me to heel hook her or go in for my straight ankle lock. So because of that, I start to invert and hunt for my knee bar. I actually had decent positioning on this knee bar, but she's able to twist her leg around and prevent me from getting the bite that I need on the finish and starts to come up and try to stack me once again. She's doing a good job of keeping her hips heavy to prevent me from tipping her back over and putting her on her butt to attack for my submissions. So I start to roll underneath once again and put her back on her butt to try to look for my heel hook finish. I get a pretty okay bite on this, but she's doing a good job of just coming up and stacking me. I try to underhook her leg and start to invert again, but this time not only does she have really good pressure with her hips, but she's also using her arms and her chest to apply a lot of pressure to my upper body, which is keeping me flat and making it much more difficult for me to complete my inversion. I think in hindsight, I was trying to hang on to this leg a little bit too long. I think I should have let it go and moved on to something else a little bit sooner, but you live and you learn. So here's where I start to make my mistake. Because it's ADCC rules, there's only points for the second half of the match. So as she starts to clear her leg, instead of turning into her to recover my guard, I try to turn away from her to turtle up and prevent her from getting points. And I left my arm exposed and she's able to start to wrap up this armbar. Definitely a mistake on my part, but I've got pretty good grips from here and I'm doing a good job of trying to get my left elbow to the mat and try to escape this armbar, but she's really strong and she's got really good positioning from here, and so she is able to eventually break my grip and finish the armbar. Not my best match, but definitely not my worst either. I think it was pretty competitive up until the end, and yeah, I just got some things to work on to match 2. So because I lost my first match, I'm now in the bronze medal bracket of this division. So this is my first match in the bronze medal bracket. My opponent and I are looking to hand fight and try to get to dominant positioning to start to set up our takedowns. I try a couple times to snap her head down and look for my front headlock positioning, but she's doing a good job of keeping her head positioning a little bit higher and preventing me from getting to the positioning that I want. We continue to tie up with each other, looking for dominant head positioning and dominant hand positioning. Like I said, she's being pretty aggressive from this hand fighting position, and she starts to go for kind of this like blow by thing, I think. I'm not really sure, but I'm able to defend, and the ref resets us back in the middle. We start the match back, slap and bump, and are immediately starting to look for those ties again. I start to try to drive her backwards to try to set up my shot, but I wind up driving her off the mat, and he has to reset us back in the middle. From here, I get to my collar tie and then am able to use that to set up kind of a little front trip by getting her to drive all of her weight into me and then dropping down. But I'm not able to come up quite as fast as she is. And so I come up in this open guard position trying to sweep her, and she latches onto my ankle trying to just finish a straight ankle lock from standing. It is hurting, but it's not really breaking pressure, if that makes sense. So I am able to invert underneath and start to sweep her over into this kind of backside 50-50 position, and then start to look for my knee bar from here. And then I wind up switching it to this 50-50 position. So we are both looking to untangle legs and start to get a bite on the heel hook. Here we're both kind of hand fighting back and forth, looking to try to untangle legs and keep a good close positioning to prevent the other person from untangling our own legs. She is hand fighting with me and then starts to come up to try to stack me in this position to try to get her leg free and come up on top. Because she's fighting the position and trying to come up on top and stack me, and I'm not quite able to unlock her legs and get to my bite on the heel hook, I decide to take a little bit of a risk and unlock my figure four positioning and start to take my outside leg and try to feed it in the middle to set up my saddle position. Once I'm able to feed that leg across, I'm underhooking her leg and inverting underneath. I'm not quite able to get to my saddle positioning, but I am able to get to a good bite on the heel hook, and I'm able to start to rotate and get my tap via heel hook. I was initially a little bit worried about her knee after the match. Heel hooks can definitely torque up your knee a little bit, but she was okay. I think maybe she had a little bit of a knee issue from a previous match or something. I'm not really sure, but I talked to her afterwards. She was super sweet, and she seemed like she was in good spirits afterward. So happy to get the win, and she was a really good opponent, so I was glad to be able to have a good opponent. All right, this is the bronze medal match for the 70 kg division. My opponent and I start to tie up, and I am looking to get to my grips and keep my head positioning good. I am looking to try to get to my 2-on-1 positioning and start to set up my takedowns from there. I'm doing a pretty good job of getting to my 2-on-1 wrist grip or to my arm drag type positioning, but she is doing a good job of breaking those grips, as you can see, and is keeping a good low head positioning to prevent me from getting to the positioning that I want. We continue to grip fight back and forth. She seems to be hunting for underhooks to start to set up her takedowns, whereas again, I'm trying to set up my takedowns with my 2-on-1 grip. We circle and continue to hand fight, looking for our grips. She's using a collar tie to try to snap me down and then start to set up her underhook, but we go too far off the mat and the ref resets us back in the middle. We get back to the middle and we start the match back and slap and bump and start to look for our grips again. Here I'm able to start to set up my right side underhook and am looking to use that to start to set up my takedown. I'm initially thinking that I'm going to go in for a hip toss, but because she's kind of backing away from me, I wind up getting a little bit more shallow in on just a little trip and am able to secure the takedown and come up on top. I wind up on top in this kind of like knee shield half guard position, and I'm looking to flatten her out and try to see if I can start to pass her guard. We are hand fighting, and I'm starting to look for my right side underhook so that I can start to flatten her out and knee cut through either to side control or to a top half guard position. She's doing a really good job of using her top leg as a knee shield to create space and prevent me from getting to the positioning that I want. I'm still looking for that underhook and looking to clear that top leg and start to try to pass, but she's doing a good job of wedging her knees in. And from here, she starts to kind of come underneath me and start to hunt for like a butterfly guard. And I pinch her knees together to prevent her from getting to her butterfly position. She's looking to try to flare her knees from here and start to set up her butterfly sweeps, but I'm doing a really good job staying pressured in on her feet and on her knees to prevent her from being able to get to the butterfly guard. From here, I start to stand up and start to look for some of my standing passing by controlling her legs and seeing if I can start to set up some passing from there. And I wind up being able to get to this split pressure passing position. So I have her legs split apart pretty well right here. And I'm looking to use this positioning to stay nice and heavy on her legs and start to pass around to a top position, clearing the legs. She is once again trying to use her top leg to create space and use it as a wedge in a knee shield type position. I am looking to try to underhook her leg and either come around the outside of her hips or knee cut through into a top position. I start to stand back up to readjust my position. I'm trying to see if I can get her knees pointed away from me so that I can come around the backside and start to either get to my side control or to the back. Once I'm able to get her knees pointed away from me, I wrap around them and chest pressure heavy down on top of them, smashing them away from me so that I can start to circle around towards her hips and look for my top position. But she does a good job of flaring her knees back out and getting back to her guard and not allowing me to pass. From here, as I'm looking for my pass, she starts to hook around my leg and get in on her leg entanglement position. Here she lands in a DOA type position, but I start to counter leg lock attack and come around for my own leg lock positioning. I'm able to come up on top and then immediately slide in for my knee bar position, and I'm able to get a really good bite on this knee bar and finish with the knee bar submission. This was a super fun division with really good opponents. Obviously, I could have done some things better throughout the day, but I was still proud of my performance and happy to come away with a bronze medal. All right, on to the absolute division. We shake hands, the ref starts the match, and I'm immediately looking to start to get to my arm drags, my underhooks, and my 2-on-1 positions to start to see if I can maybe get to her back. She is defending my grips and clearing ties. I decide to drop in for a single leg, but she defends, so I'm not able to get her leg up. I go back to hunting for my grips, looking for that dominant head positioning, dominant hand positioning. I definitely want to make sure that my head doesn't get too low here because then it leaves me exposed to a snap down into the front headlock. She goes for a Russian tie on my arm, but I'm able to clear the grip and start to hunt for an arm drag. She defends the arm drag by squaring back up with me, and we are back to looking for that inside space, inside hand positioning. I don't remember exactly when this happens in the sequence of events, but at some point during the hand fighting, my opponent gets a warning for stalling and then actually does wind up getting a stalling call called against her. I think because she's mostly just defending what my attacks are as opposed to going for meaningful attacks of her own. Here I start to drive her backwards and start to look to see if I can get over the top of her head and start to snap her down into a front headlock, but I'm not able to get her low enough and she's able to defend and pop back up. I think around here is where she got the stalling call because then she decides to drop in for a shot for a double leg, but I'm able to capitalize on it and start to snap her head down in a front headlock position. But she's doing a really good job of maintaining her posture and not giving that up, so I'm not quite able to snap her down into the position that I'm looking for. I did not realize she had gotten a stalling deduction, so I was actually technically ahead on points, and I was tired of being on the feet, so I decided to jump for a mirror lock. I have never done a mirror lock in practice ever, so I don't know why I decided to do that, but whatever. I jumped for a mirror lock. I'm a cowboy. See what happens. It did not work. She was able to clear her arm out of my overhook, but that's okay because I'm still in the guard and I have a good guard, so I start to cut my angle to look for my arm bar, but I'm not able to quite get that arm bar. She pulls her arm out, but now I'm in a triangle position, and then I switch to an arm bar on the opposite side. I had an okay bite on this, but she does a good job of clearing the position, and I turtle up to prevent her from getting on top of me in side control. I felt like I had a better chance of escaping the turtle than I did escaping a side control. She starts to circle around around to try to take my back, but because she's a little bit high on my hips, I'm actually able to create enough space that I'm able to come up underneath and start to invert and get back to my guard position, which is pretty impressive, honestly. I forgot that I did this. I'm trying to hunt for a grip on one of her arms to try to pull it back into my guard and start to hunt for my arm saddle type position, but she's doing a really good job of controlling my legs and preventing me from getting to what I want. She continues to circle and I circle with her, and I get a pretty good grip on her far side arm, but she's doing a really good job of staying pressured into me and preventing me from cutting angles with my hips to start to look for my submissions. I'm starting to lose my grip on the arm, and so I bring my top leg back over her head and start to come in for a knee shield position. She does the smart thing, which is sitting on top of my bottom leg, and I'm being aware of my top foot because she does have a grip on my top leg foot and could go for a toe hold from here. But she continues to circle around for her pass. I am trying to look for my half guard and deep half entries, but she's doing a really good job of keeping her hips sprawled out, so I can't do that. I don't want to give up points, so I try to go to my belly and turtle up, but she does a really good job of getting her hooks in and securing her position on my back. She starts to hunt for her rear naked choke and starts to flatten me out, and from here I go ahead and decide to tap. She did a great job of flattening me out from here and using her grapevines to apply pressure into my low back while she was hunting for the choke. So I was just as much tapping to that as I was to the choke. I felt like this was a good match. I had some good moments, but I definitely could have made some improvements. Overall, a pretty good day. I definitely made some mistakes that I want to improve on for next time, but I still had some good moments and was proud of myself for fighting back for this bronze medal in my weight class. I was also excited to get some more experience under the ADCC rule set. Like I said before, I had done West Coast trials before, but I'd never done one of the opens, and so I was excited to be able to learn the rules a little bit better. I also got to have 4 really good opponents. It's always great when you have 4 really good back and forth kind of scrappy matches, and so I was super appreciative of everyone who came out to compete. I also want to give a huge shout out to my sponsor, Yes Athletics. They made this amazing no-gi set for me custom. Be sure to check them out for custom gear for yourself or your team. Link in description box below. Thanks for watching and subscribe!